1, 2, 3, 4.
Shalom and welcome to Israel Inspired Radio with Ari Abramowitz and Jeremy Gimpel. I'm Ari, and Jeremy, you are?
I'm Jeremy. It's been almost 2 years, as far as my count is right. It's been 2 years since we've been behind the microphone, putting out audio content, making a podcast, putting it on the radio.
Are you really calculating 2 years? Because I'm sort of doing it in my head. We tend to exaggerate, both of us, by 3 halves I've seen over the many years of our friendship.
3 halves.
So 3 halves of 2 years, I'm saying maybe it's been a year and a half.
It could be a year and a half. It's about 2 years. It's something around. The bottom line is so much has happened in the last year and a half to 2 years that I really don't know where to begin from.
Or whether we even really should begin from events, because to go into, we could literally, if we wanted to really do it in depth, we could do hours and hours of radio just on the Knesset campaign.
Right.
Just on the lessons we got from the Knesset campaign, what happened there, what learned, the intricacies, those stories, and so much has happened since the Knesset campaign. So maybe we should start off less on a actual events level, because if you see this world as where we don't, it's not like we're people that have souls. We are souls and we have a body. Then we're just journeying through this energy field where Hashem is orchestrating everything. So maybe we could talk about spiritually, where are you at right now?
Well, it's important that people know that the person that I am today, and I'm pretty sure this is true for you as well, is radically different than the person that I was literally a year and a half ago. The last year and a half has been so formative, so traumatizing, so humbling, so amazing. So many words can be
words.
There's just a lot. So many words it's been overwhelming. That the experience has molded me into, it has refined my character and brought out new aspects where literally it's like as if I am a new creation in the world. That's how I feel.
I'll tell you how I feel. I don't know that I'm necessarily a radically different person, but this is how I do feel. That Abraham went through all of these tests. We know he went through 10 different tests. But Hashem, God, knows Abraham's heart. He knows who Abraham is. Abraham's the same person before and after the test. Why does Abraham have to go through the test? And the answer is for Abraham. For when he's going through the tests, he is able to manifest what was otherwise a latent or potential power within him that is manifest in the world through passing these tests. I somehow feel like I've been put through the ringer on personal levels, professional levels. Every one of these things has been like tested me to my core, and I'm now a different person from it, or a more evolved person, but I'm still the same guy.
Well, let me tell you.
You know what I mean by that?
Of course. I don't think that only people that are really in touch, really in tune, can even they don't necessarily even know that I'm a different person. But our listeners, our close friends, people that are listening to the thoughts and ideas that are coming out of us, I think will hear a new sensitivity, a new perspective. And the biggest difference that I feel, that I know in my gut has changed, is that, when we were running for the Knesset, I mean, we were 2 seats away from being the youngest MKs in the Knesset. We were so close, and we were campaigning on ideas and ideology, and I had opinions on almost every issue, on issues that I had never had opinions on before. I developed opinions in order to campaign, meaning people were asking me questions, and I had to have opinions, and it was to the best of my ability at that time to come up with ideas of thoughts that I had never encountered before.
By the way, that was my favorite. Professionally, we've gone through ups and downs all over the place. That time where we were doing the primaries and going throughout the country, speaking to groups, that was my favorite thing we've ever done so far.
Oh, my goodness. By far, huge highlight. Because
that was the vision of why we ran. Though now we have hundreds of people from around the country, every city we go to, that are coming, and we're speaking to them, and they're listening to us and asking us questions, and it's like real time in Israel about the Knesset, developing an entire. It was the best. And then somehow it lost its clarity and got confused, and things happened, but that part was very sweet.
Definitely. On a personal, meaning what I've learned from that is, on a personal level, on an internal level, I was not ready for such a challenge. That's why I've grown so much, because I had, tried to climb Mount Everest when really I should have been climbing maybe the bunny hill at a ski slope. And that was, when you try something that's so much greater than really your abilities, it's by definitionally you're going to grow from it. I love playing tennis. I love playing against people that are much better than me, because you play with someone that's much better than you. Yeah, you'll get wiped.
Well, no.
But
It's
you
good to
develop
play with
new
people
skills.
that are better than you. What we did was we were on our first week of tennis lessons, and we said, yeah, bring on Andre Agassi.
Yes.
That's it's not like in tennis, you don't want to play Andre Agassi. You play someone that just edges you out to make you better.
I was internally going into a place where if you really want to maintain an internal integrity and spiritual journey, going into politics is literally playing Andre Agassi, and that's that dates you a little bit, because I think Andre Agassi's been out of tennis for a while, but it's playing a higher game than I was ready to really cope with. But there's no question, so much came from that. But I think the most poignant point, the thing that really expresses itself more than anything now, is that if you ask me my opinion on issues now, I'm a lot more humble. I guess that's a positive way of saying
Subdued.
it. I don't know. There was a time where I really felt like I knew the answers, and right now I'm much more open to hearing other people's ideas, incorporating, listening, and I don't feel like now I have the truth and I need to convince you of the truth that I know to be self-evident, but rather I'm on my own journey, and all I can do, I don't want to change anyone, but I can share a vision that I have through my own life experiences, and maybe that can touch people's lives. But I'm not going to go into the jiu-jitsu battle of trying to block with my right, swing with my left, uppercut.
Because that's real. It's making an assumption that what you see to be true is the ultimate and absolute truth. And what I've seen is, in Ashrei, it says, "Potech et yadecha umasbeh lecho chai ratzon," that God opens his hands and fulfills every living being with ratzon. I think you shared this with me. And what is ratzon? It's will. What is our will and what is our motivation? And what I see when I look around the world is that if people really in their heart want to serve God, then God will use them for his service. And what they're doing for his service is probably the opposite. Often it could be the opposite of what they're actually being used for. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, I think an example is in.
Okay, for example, on an extreme case, let's say a Muslim fellow is born in Ramallah, and he just loves God. He's thirsty for God and for truth. And you take this very healthy, beautiful emotion, and then you filter it through a prism as pathologically distorted as the Quran. And it ends up with the conclusion, I have to jump on a bus and blow myself up and kill Jews. I don't know the destination of the soul of that Arab, because I believe as a Jew that everything is orchestrated by God and everything is for the best. So even stuff that looks bad is really a blessing in disguise. So God is orchestrating everything. So if the Jewish people at this point need to be going through a challenge where we have suicide bombers that are wreaking havoc and murdering us in the streets, then that's from God too. So if this Muslim guy that wants to serve and connect with God so much, and he does this, then perhaps on some level he was serving God, even though it was in the opposite way that he thought.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily true, in that you could say that anyone is serving God's purpose, even if they're not doing it for God.
That's why it's not for me to say.
Well, just 1 second. It says in the Tanakh, for example, Nebuchadnezzar Avdi, that Nebuchadnezzar, the one who destroyed the temple, is my servant. Someone could say, on a totally other scale, that the Nazis were serving God's purpose, but Nebuchadnezzar and the Nazis were not trying to connect to God through the Quran or at any level.
That's why I'm saying it's about motivation. It's about motivation. Were the Nazis trying to serve God? Was there a higher spiritual purpose, or were they trying to destroy God from the world? They were trying to destroy God from the... Hitler said, we will destroy the Jewish people and your God of thou shalt and thou shalt nots. It was a war against God.
Well, here, that's true. There's no question about it, that really goes to the core of what the war against the Jew and the Nazi was. It really was, is there a God in the world? That really was the core battle. But at the same time, I just read an article about this Nazi survivor that was literally gassing Jews. And he said, I know people won't believe me, but I'm really a good person. And I've been thinking about that for the last few days, like how to deal with that guy, because on his own level, he may not be doing it for God, whatever that even means, but he himself sees that what he was doing was good, and he was a good person. So I don't really know, I don't know how to judge anyone or anything. And someone that wants to serve God, I'm meeting a bunch of people right now, they don't necessarily want to serve God because they themselves are challenged by what that even means. And maybe they want to serve God, or they want to even believe in God, but they're even being challenged on that level. I mean, it's just so radically challenging to judge on any level that I don't know where to begin.
That's why this is a conversation or an argument that you and I have going back for a decade.
So nothing has
changed.
And
it always comes back to this. It always comes back. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying that I don't know. That only God, even more than a person I can say in my heart, oh, I'm serving God, but in reality, my deeper motivations, I'm just serving myself. But only God can know who's truly seeking to connect with him and serve him and who's not, and we can't know. That's why I get confused when you get into this, well, anyone could say this, and what do you do with that guy? I don't do anything with that guy. That's not my concern. It's not what I'm thinking about. It's not what I'm consumed with. I'm consumed with thinking about my own connection with the God. That's the idea. That when, my clarity, or not clarity, the journey I'm on, and you've heard me say this a number of times when we were in reserve duty, and I was driving everybody nuts about it, is that we're in Garden of Eden now. Right now, we're in the Garden of Eden. This is my new thing that I can't get out of my mind, and I'm open to being proven wrong about it. But what happened when Adam ate from the tree? Forget his motivations for now. But when he ate from the tree, what happened? Before he ate from the tree, he was walking with God in this beautiful bliss of knowledge, of connection. It was just a knowledge that he is a manifestation of God in the world, even to the degree that his body, our sages say, was like the nail on our hand. That it was like that was the extent of the physical goof, the physical body, and the rest was just this effervescent, beautiful light. And then when he ate from the tree, this world of confusion and doubt and duality and fear all of a sudden was incorporated into him, and it all got mixed together. And now he doesn't know, is he a person with a soul, or is he a soul with a body? He has to cover up his body now. Is his wife an extension of him? Is she part of him? Did she betray him? All of this confusion. And then God says to Adam, Adam, where are you? As if God doesn't know where Adam is. Of course he knows where Adam is, but he's speaking to Adam in his own terms. And this whole journey that we as humanity is on is realizing that we were never thrown out of the garden. We're in the garden now. We just need to shift our perception to the realization that everything that happens in our life is God interacting with us and conspiring to give us the opportunity for the greatest happiness and joy, which is what? To connect with him. And when we see everything that happens in our lives as an opportunity to connect with him, then there is no good or bad. It's all good because everything is an opportunity. Like that, when I was in America, many people would often get existential crisis and say, Na'ar Hayiti Gam Zakanti. In Psalms, it says, I was young and I grew old, and never did I see a righteous person, never did I see them abandoned, meaning abandoned by God. Never did I see them abandoned. And they say, how can you say that? Look at the Holocaust. Well, I would say, look at any righteous person in the Holocaust, a real tzaddik in the Holocaust, and someone went to him and said, has God abandoned you? His answer would be, of course not. God is here with me more than ever before. I have more opportunities here in Auschwitz to connect with God than I've had before. And if that is our overriding passion that dwarfs physical comfort and everything else, then life is always fun and it's always filled with joy because we could always connect with God. The challenge is just taking that mental, intellectual realization and connecting it to the heart.
Okay, so I think it's a beautiful idea. It's really a lot to think about. And I guess the question that has to come out of this, if I accept all of that is true, is why? Meaning, Hashem had a purpose. We started at one point with a total clarity of what was good, what was evil. God's presence was clear in our life. And then Adam ate from the tree, and whatever that means, the transformation happened now that God is concealed, there's doubt in the world, good and bad is not as clear as it could be, and here we are in this existence. But if we say that Hashem is in control of everything, then all of that happened, and it's really the best this way. And the question is, why? Why does it need to be this way, where God is concealed, where doubt is involved, and where we don't know what right and wrong is, and we're all sort of in limbo? Why does it have to be that way?
So I'll give you my answer now. I certainly hope that 10 years from now I would disagree with myself, but this is where I'm at right now. And the answer to that is joy, happiness. The answer of why God did all of this is happiness, because I know you've probably felt moments like this. I've felt moments like this. I'm sure many of our listeners have, where, I don't know, where I'm in a situation. You know, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, I've read many of his poems, and at the beginning you're like, oh, I don't know, you're just hearing poems, which I felt also. I never really was into poetry, but they have so powerfully connected with my heart. And one of them culminates in a sentence, which is, build your life as if it were a work of art. I think of that every day now. When I go into a situation that is difficult, or I'm going to have difficult people that I'm facing, or a real challenge that I'm facing, it's not even about the outcome that I want to get out of it. I want to create this scene into a work of art. And how do I do that? One is by loving every person that's there, if the situation is necessary. Perhaps if it's a war, it's something else. But it's not about the outcomes. It's about the journey. And when you're able to really see that truth. Okay, so I'll tell you where I'm at. This is just where I'm at, snapshot of my journey right now. I certainly hope that 10 years from now I will evolve from this, because really the true depth of the final answer is something that transcends human comprehension, I believe. But I think the answer in simplicity is joy, happiness. That's why God created this whole scenario this way, and it had to play out this way. Because when Adam integrated within himself this doubt and this dualism and this fear, when we are able to come into the world and say, God is truly in charge of everything, orchestrating everything, then every situation has embedded within it the opportunity for fun. Now, I know fun sounds like a weird thing, because you think fun, you go to the amusement park, but fun in the deepest spiritual sense, because no longer is life a rat race. No longer you in every situation to try to orchestrate the best outcome for you. The best outcome of every situation is to see the truth of it and experience the godliness within every person and every situation, and elevate the sparks of every scenario that you're in. And that becomes fun, and it becomes so different. Part of my fun in my life, I think, sometimes is interacting with people who see the world so differently than me, and seeing how they have to contend with me, how they have to deal with me, just because I have such a different priority set and goal system than they do altogether. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, totally. And when you live your life in that way, it maximizes your joy.
Yes, definitely. I'm not always there. I'm not like a Zen master, but the times that I'm in this mindset where I see and experience God in everything, all of a sudden, in situations that would otherwise seem adverse and painful and sad, you're able to say, how can I make this a beautiful work of art? That's what Abraham Joshua Heschel says. He says, live your life as if it were a work of art. Meaning you're not worried about the outcome that will come out of this. This meeting that you're going into that has such potential for darkness and anger and screaming, how can you make this beautiful? How can you make this something where you touch the hearts of people, and where you give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and you are someone that lives a life of compassion and love for humanity, and not one of defensiveness and myopia? You know what I mean?
Totally. Well, I'll tell you what I think, and I think everything you said is absolutely true. And I mean, I don't know anything about anything, but this is where I'm at right now, that joy is the outcome of something a little bit more fundamental. And if there was no doubt, and Hashem's presence was absolutely clear in the world, rabbis always taught me that we would have no free will. That it would just be so clear that you couldn't stick your hand in the fire, because the fire would immediately burn you. And so there's no will to do anything. So in order to allow free will, so Hashem had to be concealed. So I always heard that, and I got it. But then I was thinking just the other day that if I held a gun to your head and I said, Ari, love me or I'm going to kill you. And then you started being really nice to me. and you started saying, Jeremy, I really like you. You're really good. You're really funny. Oh, I really like you.
That's actually how our friendship started, by the way. If you remember.
So then you say, like, oh, so what? So God wouldn't know if we really love him or not? And that's not really the key. The key is that we would never know. We would never know, are we really good? Are we really choosing good now or not? And the world now is in a perfect balance where there's enough doubt and enough faith, and there's enough in there now that when we choose, we can literally choose something lishma, for its own sake. The rabbis say we should serve God in order to not receive a prize. And I never understood that. Well, we all want to, go to heaven, olam haba, but as long as doubt is in there, then who knows? Right now, I'm living my life, and I see someone that's in need. I see an orphan. I see a poor person. When I choose now to be good, there's an element now that really I'm choosing to be good. There's no gun to my head, because then I really would never know. Am I doing it, or am I just want to stay alive? When there's concealment, then it really allows us to maximize the goodness within us, and that results in joy. When we can really make our day a work of art, and what is a work of art? It's literally bringing light into every situation. And when we do that, because we choose to do that, our neshama starts to dance. It starts singing the song of life. And I think that's the key.
I'll tell you, I'm right now on day 3 of a 10-day juice cleanse. I do this maybe a couple times a year. Maybe once a year I actually get through the 10 days. One time I get like 2-3 days, and then you are eating like a hamburger in front of me and I just break down. But I'm like at the end of the 3rd day, and it's already getting to that place where it becomes spiritual, where I start feeling the spiritual. And you even said it to me. I saw you eating a little something, and in case your wife's listening, I won't say what it was. And and I looked, and you were like, Ari, this is diabetes, this is sugar, this is the source of death. You're choosing life. And the truth is, I felt that you were right, and it meant something to me that you said that, because I felt like I'm choosing life. But it's not only this perfect balance that God created, because when you said of doubt, I don't have any doubt about God. So why do I let God down and myself down sometimes? Because he also put our soul in this physical body. The physical body has hungers and desires and things that we also have to even if intellectually we know, we have to have our intellect and our soul overcome these very real and compelling desires that we feel that are leading us in the opposite direction. So it is very, very carefully balanced to leave us right on that line where we have the potential to choose life, but death and darkness is waiting right around the corner.
Folks, that's Ari Abramowitz. I'm Jeremy Gimpel. Thank you for tuning in. Tune in next week for Israel Inspired.